Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of MTG Arena. Today is Friday, December 20th, and we're mostly just playing for victory, so we have 10 days left where we could try to play gold tier and see if we could get up one more rank. I'll give it one college try, but honestly, it's probably not going to be super easy to get ranked victories when the next expansion comes out and I have a lot more cards. Then we'll do a deck rebuild at that point. That's happening in less than 90 days, I believe. That would probably be the next step to trying to get higher than rank 4 gold tier, which I'm happy enough to end the month on rank 4 gold tier. It'd be nicer certainly if we ended on diamond tier, but odds are low that would happen. We would have to have such an incredible win streak. It would just have to be like quick disconnect, quick disconnect, quick disconnect over and over again for, like, I would suspect maybe 10 victories in a row, which I would certainly take and be happy with, but unlikely to happen. On the other hand, 10 victories on daily turn, like, they want you to get 15 victories every day to get the maximum amount of rewards. So on average, 15 victories a day should move you up in ranked if you were just playing ranked. Moving on, covering the news, TechRaptor has an article here. Avery Attorney Nintendo Switch release date is set for early 2020. This is, I think, a different spin on the joke of birds instead of the pigeon simulator game that I tried to play from Devolver Digital. It probably is a bit of an indication that since Pigeon Simulator did manage to be particularly successful or get a lot more coverage than it probably deserved, there was certainly a level of copycats that started developing some Pigeon Simulator type game that now are finally coming out. Let's see. Borderlands 3 has its events, so they're 4 hours ago they have a takedown event, which I don't know if that really means anything to most people. It kind of doesn't mean anything to me. I suppose it's just an indication that generally speaking, if you had bought Borderlands 3 when it was brand new and exclusive, then you would have been able to use it, have more interaction with it. The Moxie's Heist of the Handsome Jackpot here was actual DLC that came out on the 19th, and then they are putting out consistently on like a daily basis shift keys, which I'm collecting, even though there's a decent argument to never play any 2K Borderlands Gearbox game again and boycott it. Unfortunately, I can't even remember the reason why we were boycotting it, because it wasn't anything to do with the Blitzchung situation in Activision Blizzard. It had to do with some other DMCA strike, I think, that they did to a content creator. 2K did. It really wasn't even Gearbox's fault, which is a strange thing to say, because almost always, if there's controversy around a Gearbox game, it's almost always Randy Pitchford and Gearbox's fault. I really need to, more than even doing the Steam Winter Sale video, which I think I'm almost certainly not going to bother to do, even though the sale's going on right now, and I would very much appreciate people supporting my channel by friending me on Steam and gifting me either a gift card or a game off my wish list, or just any game they'd like to see. This also is the perfect time for you to do something like that, because it will inevitably add to your spendings, which will give you more tokens and more points during this winter sale. But yeah, more than doing a sale video highlighting everything that's available for sale, which is pretty much just the same things over and over as have been for the past two sales, a controversies list, a actual blacklist of just like, here's the controversies around this company, here's the reasons why I probably shouldn't bother to I probably shouldn't support this company. Like, and there just needs to be like a tier there so that I can make a more informed decision when purchasing games. Do I really want to maintain a blacklist against 2K, or did they put out something that's so good that I really want to play it? Borderlands 3 is really on the ledge there. Once it stops being an Epic Store exclusive and comes to Steam, I could easily see myself getting into it eventually, but outside of that 6-month window for sure of their initial sales, but I'd still be giving money to a company that does something I don't support. But unfortunately that is the case for most companies in the United States. But I'd like to be at least informed in knowing who I support, and since so many companies have so many controversies, particularly in this year, it's gotten impossible to remember it, and that's, I imagine, what they're hoping will happen, is that people will just give up and lose interest, as there's just so much that's happening. Play this. And then no attacks. Next, we have a game that came out on Steam called Rose Riddle Werewolf Shadow, which looks to me like one of those resource management strategy games. To me, it's 20% off for $5.59. Supports a bunch of languages. It's not widescreen. It doesn't look particularly interesting. The name is particularly, I think, also designed to be deceptive of what it really looks like it is. Let's just skip on this video and see what the game actually looks like. Yeah, it's just a resource management game. So having a gun and a werewolf on your thumbnail is just deceptive advertising, frankly. So yeah, let's just move on to the next game. We have a game here on Steam called Totally Baseball, which doesn't look visually polished enough. It looks like a Wii game that's been ported to Steam. It's early access. It requires VR. It's $9.74, which is a little too cheap for VR, and it's English full audio. This, on top of being bad graphics, highlights part of the problem of VR in general, is that you don't want to be swinging your arms around like you have a baseball bat in your hand, because that is how you end up breaking things. And so there is definitely a concern there. Alright. Attack there. This guy's gonna do 1 damage to everybody. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Fight of Animals, which has a lot of videos to get to screenshots that don't want to load. So let's leave that for a second. It's $5.39. It's almost certainly a troll game. English, Japanese, and Chinese makes me suspect it's a Chinese game. Yeah, it looks like it is a troll boxing game where animals are fighting each other. Not just boxing though, also karate. But you're seeing like no interface here, so it probably is just button mashing if I was to guess. I wish this was a real game. I wish this really looked like a real game. Because there would be something slightly interesting around the idea of making a good quality fighting game where all the characters were animals or more animal-like anthropomorphic creatures compared to so say like Star Fox where it's mostly a human with some fox features. Well, if this guy attacks, I've lost. Unless I can trigger something here. I can't trigger anything there. So I have to block this. And because I blocked that, I lost. Yeah, every bit of video of Fight of Animals makes it look like it's a troll game, unfortunately. I'm fairly certain that's exactly what it is. And yeah, we are just kind of going back and forth on ranks, but we can keep playing. As long as I don't fall down and down rank, we can give it a try. Let's see how not safe for YouTube this content is on this next article. This is definitely a lewd adult game that is selling itself as a lewd adult game and nothing else. It's also a smaller game. There we go, we got a free victory. It seems like you get different network connections whether you're playing ranked or not. Interestingly. So it's an escape the room type puzzle adventure game here called Prison Princess Details. The article is Prison Princess Details Story, Systems, and Characters. It's due out for the Switch on the eShop January 30th, 2020, probably in Japan only. You have 2 large amounts of cleavage, busted princesses, and they are trapped in, it seems like 2 separate rooms, and then they eventually meet together. And it's pretty much that. It's just escape this room and escape the other room, finding objects, and there's some level of lewdness and panty shots and things like that integrated, which is a weird combination certainly, but it probably will sell relatively well, and that's probably all they really need, really want. It is interesting that games like this are being allowed on the eShop because they aren't particularly quality by any means, and Nintendo seems like they don't really care, and particularly if it's just being sold in the Japanese market, which it's also interesting to see that these games more and more are not even trying to be on the PlayStation Network where they would have been possibly before in previous years. Both the eShops for Nintendo and Sony PlayStation, PlayStation Network, and frankly Microsoft, all of those eShop storefronts are full of garbage games, and there's really no attempt at curating that at all, and it doesn't seem to matter. It still feels like those storefronts have better quality than what you would get on an Android or iOS storefront, and that seems to be good enough for most people. I would imagine a large percentage of people who own consoles don't ever go on the arcade eShop platforms to buy anything other than like AAA games that they've already heard about. I doubt too many people are going for these niche games. I don't think I really need to play this, so I'll just hold it back. Next game we have on Steam here is just a bunch of Asian characters, and it looks like it is a Chinese RPG, for lack of a better description. It looks like it's kind of a mobile game where you just have perhaps a chain of anime girls that just are always running to the right, and as one person loses their energy and dies, the next person in the chain moves forward, and it's just an attempt to keep on going towards the right against a long group of enemies. Or maybe you just have a team of 4 and this long chain is the enemies. It doesn't look like it's a terrible system, actually. It's being covered up. But yeah, the idea is not horrible. Particularly for a mobile game. Unfortunately, English is not supported. It's 99 cents, and it's a Chinese-only game. This looks like a game that mostly plays itself too, which would be the kind of games I'm always trying to find. So I could certainly appreciate it if it was in English. Unfortunately, it's not in English. We really haven't gotten to the point, though, where there are so many games that are coming out in non-English languages on Steam that I feel like I'm really missing out on a lot of content. Every now and then I'm missing out on a little, but that's kind of it. Alright, well, put that on the field now. And attack. Next game we have on Steam is DJ Max Respect 5, or Respect V, which I believe is a rhythm game. It has quite a fancy trailer, but in actuality,
never back down from a challenge.
The game is mostly just this four bars and tapping. And then you've got some music and some art in the background that changes, I think, based on each song. I don't think DJ Max is a bad game for people with rhythm. I just don't have rhythm, so it's not something for me. Autoplay is an interesting idea. This looks like it is a slightly different style of gameplay. This is early access for $39.99 discounted English and Korean. That's really expensive. It's already on my following list, but yeah, really expensive. I can't really suspect that there's a smart reason why you should be able to, or you would want to pay that much. I'm just gonna go ahead and kill this guy just for the heck of it, just to get rid of him. then end the turn. Being a Korean game, I wouldn't be surprised if DJ Max does have a high amount of Korean K-pop songs. So your fandom of Korean K-pop songs would probably drastically affect your enjoyment of DJ Max also. And there is something, I guess, a general argument to make that if you like music, just enjoy the music, and you don't really have to play a game to enjoy the music in most instances. Although sometimes a lot of games have music in them that there's no way to get that music out easily. They don't sell soundtracks, or they don't have a release. It's not like when a Mario or Zelda game comes out and they have decent soundtracks, those songs then appear on YouTube, on like the Nintendo YouTube channel, as far as I know, which frankly it should. Like it would be so smart. Maybe they show up on the song streaming platforms, Spotify and things like that. I don't know about that. I don't listen to music enough to, or use any of those services. But I do watch YouTube a lot. And I would argue that gamers are watching YouTube or Twitch or something, some service like that, Mixer or something. So it would make a lot more sense for those songs to show up as parts of ads or as recommended videos on your streaming service of choice. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Uta no Prince Sama, Amazing Aria and Sweet Serenade Love for Nintendo Switch, launches May 20th in 2020 in Japan. This is obviously a young maiden otome game, romance, choose your guy visual novel. Although I'm assuming it's an otome, it may not actually fall under that category. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to say there. Just keep on playing here. We still are getting announcements for visual novels, but we really aren't getting a lot of visual novels released at the moment. But that's fine. Like, it's end of year. Next, we have a game on Steam called Zombie Season, which is clearly a low-effort asset flip first-person game, low polygon. It's zoomed in too much for a zombie game, in my opinion. You really don't need the camera zoomed in that much. You're almost certainly going to run into zombies catching you off guard on the edge. This is apparently a VR game for $9.99, English only. Maybe that's why it's so zoomed in, is because it is VR. Alright. What do I want to do? I want to play this. And then I want to do this. And then I want to attack with this. And he'll block with that, almost certainly. So then let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll do this and sacrifice that. I don't think I quite played that exactly how I should have, but I played it, I think, well enough. Gamma Sutra has an article here. CD Projekt Red and the Witcher author Andrzej Sapkowski have settled their royalties disagreement, which I think it's no surprise that this is happening right after the Witcher Netflix series came out and is I can't really trust the reviews right now, but I suspect there's probably at least a little bit boring to begin with. The first episode I hear is probably particularly boring. Just long and drawn out. That was the worst card to get. Details aren't being offered as far as the agreement, but almost certainly I don't think he was going to get too much more. He was asking for, from what I vaguely recall, quite a bit more. And in Europe, he had better grounds to stand on because he had signed a particularly good contract when he signed it, but a particularly bad contract after the fact that The Witcher 3 came out and was a massive success. And so he did deserve, at least morally speaking, a attaboy. This was really successful. You deserve some royalties, some extra points on the back end just to keep them happy. And CD Projekt Red was not being super generous there, when they probably could have been and saved themselves some bad press. But I could also see that they may have been blindsided by the whole thing, and but I guess that in part is part of their job is to make sure that whoever they license their story from is in communication with you and in a good mood, say good things. At the very least, there should have been a non-disparagement clause, and that would have stopped Andrzej Sapkowski from going public with his dispute so much as he seemed to have done. And I certainly am, generally speaking, happy to see that the creator of something gets actually paid instead of the CEOs of CD Projekt Red taking all the money, which I believe has been an accusation in the past, is that the CEOs and the people in charge of CD Projekt Red don't really listen to the actual creators at the bottom of the rung, and they just kind of ignore people, and it's not the best environment for creative people to be rewarded and heard. But then you could also make the argument who really made The Witcher 3, because The Witcher 3 in particular, which was the major successful Witcher game, is frankly hugely different and way away from what the stories are and what The Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 were. They reinvented Geralt of Rivia and changed the world and the way stories were told quite a bit compared to The Witcher 2, even, which I also played. There we go, that should be 2 victories. So, in theory, if I get 1 more victory, I would get 2 pips, and or maybe you just don't get that at a certain level. Gamma Sutra has a video here, crafting the unsettling sounds of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I haven't actually played Resident Evil 7. That'd be nice if somebody gifted me that game, because that would be something I could play very quickly and very easily without any hesitation. Let's see, what do I want to get rid of? This is probably... which one? This one is probably the one to get rid of. So all I have to do is get enough land, and I've already won the game, theoretically speaking. Yeah, it'd be kind of silly to do any backstory investigation into the development of Resident Evil 7 when you haven't played it. Here's a game that I looked at when I was going through the discovery queue. It is looks like a visual novel, but I think it actually is a mech fighting game with just some visual novel storytelling elements. I already put it on the following list. It wants $44.99 discounted, full Japanese audio, Chinese and English subtitles. Yeah, it's a mech game of some sort. Baldur's Sky from Sekai Project. So we'll just want to see if it's well received, and if it's well received, then it would be something that I'd have to really think about the price, because that is a lot to say. Is a high price, and mech games being particularly niche, it'd be a hard sell. So this guy's gonna do damage to me every single time he attacks. And there is nothing I can do. So just attack, and I may lose just because I don't have mana here. This one has first strike. This one has trample. So this one does 1 damage every time it attacks. Can I survive one more turn? Nope. Interesting. Well, there goes a pip. Yeah, this is the slow up and down motion, but generally upward progress that I probably should have been doing all month, but I'm just trying to save time and not play unranked. Play with people that are less likely to really care. Although, I would say compared to Hearthstone, there really isn't anybody playing Magic Arena that doesn't care. Like, very few people here who are doing silly, let's try and mill people. Let's try and do some crazy concept and goof around. People, even if they aren't playing ranked, seem to actually be putting in a lot of effort to get those victories. That inherently has to do with the 15 daily victories reward, and I guess cleans up the community a little bit. There's a lot less goof-offs running around. Or people goofing around might be a better way to say that. But then it also means that really the only way you get quick victories is if you're spending the extra effort, if you're just getting lucky because people disconnect, which seems to happen more. I wouldn't mind if it happened even more. Like, I wouldn't mind if it was really just the game cheating in your favor so you had more victories. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Tencent expands its Start Cloud gaming platform in China, which, you know, like, that's another service that is going to be exclusive to China and have a home field advantage due to the way China's government runs things. making it very questionable whether anybody outside of China should even think for a second that they can compete in China. And I would say for almost all industries, the answer is no. Don't do business with China. It costs you more in your soul than you will make in profit. Let's see. Normally I don't follow the New Yorker, but I did happen to see the New Yorker, for better or worse, has an article here, the best video games of 2019. So let's see what they say. Disco Elysium, The Outer Wilds, Untitled Goose Game, Telling Lies, Heaven's Vault. Has the New Yorker been reviewing video games all year? Resident Evil 2. That's like 5 games, and they're all pretty big AAA titles. Does it have a video game section? Books and culture. Books, videos, music, television. Yeah, under its books and culture section, there is no video game section, so it really seems like the New Yorker is stretching out here. Let's see. Going on. Yep. It's odd for the New Yorker to step into that field. I don't think that they are experts in that field. I don't think that the New Yorker is going to be able to quickly put out any bits of information. And I really would have to question how many New Yorker readers play video games, and how many video game players would really waste the time to read the New Yorker or any print magazine or newspaper. It certainly is often the case as a YouTube content creator that these dying media seem like they are trying everything to either ruin the new medias like YouTube or take over and control the new medias and get rid of all small content creators. Next we have a game here called Infernia on Steam. It's mixed already. Looks like it's probably just a not polished enough RPG. I wouldn't really call it a low effort because it does look like it has some stuff. It's just not polished enough. Early access, free to play with in-app purchases, and then a bunch of languages and a third-party account. It's an MMO. Yeah. It is shocking that that there are so many people still making MMOs at this point. It's kind of not something that needs to happen. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Embracer Group has acquired Little Nightmares developer Tarsier Studios. Little Nightmares as a game was over talked about and I think underplayed by most people. And this is the parent company of THQ Nordic, so they are rebranding, and Tarsier Studios, Embracer Group is going to probably start acquiring a bunch of people on behalf of THQ or THQ Nordic. If anything, I would argue that the parent company being called the Embracer Group is a smart move, because then that does mean you're getting away from just using THQ's name, which is tainted under the category of being a failure. Because alright, now see, there's a problem. I don't want to discard that card. There's no way to not discard that card once I had clicked it, so I just screwed up. But more as a policy, Embracer Group just acquiring more and more companies is to make a giant company that will inevitably fall apart and fail is probably not a smart move. I'd like to see them try to stay medium-sized and not become the next THQ again, which they seem to have really no interest in doing that. And it's questionable whether Embracer Group's entire pantheon of subsidiaries, it's questionable whether any of them are right now getting the instructions to make great games. Although Darksiders Genesis, I hear, is pretty good.
I'm good at what I do. I was getting bored anyway.
But Darksiders 3 was particularly poorly received. So, I don't know what you do there. Seems like right now THQ Nordic and THQ as a company and Embracer Group as a series of companies is neutral on their level of quality at best, not
Its pain is our gain.
not a real symbol for quality. Gamma Sutra has another article here. Panic will ship the Playdate preview units to curious devs ahead of the full launch. For people who have probably forgotten the Playdate, it is this weird 2-button, 1 D-pad, and a crank black and white screen device that is on a subscription service, I believe. You're going to get like 3 or 4 games, and then every month you'll get like 1 more game. And they're trying to get other developers to develop these games. It's an insane idea, frankly. And really got more coverage than it probably deserved, and will get slightly more coverage when it actually comes out. But people, I don't think anybody's dumb enough to think that a black and white screen is a unit that somebody wants. It wasn't, I think, even particularly cheap, which is certainly going to be another factor in it. Had it been a $30 or $40 device, maybe it would sell at that as a toy and gadget, but I think it's selling closer to a $60 or $70 device, which if it's more than that, you can get the RetroFlag GPI case and run let's see, what is it, RetroPie, and probably play a lot more recognizable and better quality games on that, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. And I'm still setting up settings and messing around with it when I have time.
Is our gain.
I need one more. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and hit that, I guess. TechRaptor has an article here. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw console release date has been pushed back for all platforms. So apparently the Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is not doing well in development, which every year it's kind of the same thing over and over again. You have these games announce a date that's way too early, and then they have to push it back.
Sacrifices must be made.
TechRaptor has an article here. Get Into the Breach free with Epic's 12 days of free games. You have to log into the Epic Store every single day. I've not been bad, and I've not been good, and I think I've missed some of these already. the odds of me winning here. Let's see, what does this say? Yeah, take that basic land card. Well, they're not getting better. They're getting worse. Let's see, next game we have on Steam is called Santa's Big Sack. It is unsurprisingly labeled as having sexual content. It is clearly a troll game. Let's see if I can find even a single screenshot that's probably okay for YouTube. Like, here we are. Here's a general idea of the animation. It's inconsistent, it's ugly, it's a troll game. They want $2.99 for this. It's English only. Yeah, how did this get allowed on Steam? I question. That is something that should have triggered something there. I guess the word sack should be a trigger. There really is no reason why it shouldn't be. What do I want? Put that on the field. TechRaptor has an article here. New Telltale game CEO is, quote, frustrated by the cash grab accusations. The cash grab accusations being that they are, since the new Telltale is effectively at best a small portion of the employees from the old Telltale, which honestly I don't think this is a fair criticism as it's been described. It's not really fair criticism to say that the old Telltale failed and thus this new Telltale needs to do the exact same things the old Telltale did, which is have way too many employees for the amount of money they're making. In part, that was the problem, not the major problem. Their major problem was that they were licensing games and not really making any profit from what they were making. But they have to do things different. They have the employees they have. Perhaps it is a mistake in general for them to have called themselves Telltale, but that they want to use that name. They want to re-release the games that they got out of that bankruptcy. As they got the name out of bankruptcy, they paid good money for it. I can't really blame somebody trying to rebuild the name of Telltale. So like here we have a quote here. All we can do is be forthcoming. We can't control whether critics hear or believe us. The truth is we are a new company with different ownership and management and a different approach to how we structure a studio in today's market. People are upset that they announced The Wolf of Us Among Us 2 and labeled it as a Telltale game, which I guess you could have called your company the New Telltale Company, New Telltale Games, and then lost the new. Here you go. Chief among his concerns is the perception that the formation of a new Telltale Games is, quote, a cash grab, a cynical outlook that he wants to dispel. Of course, we're frustrated by people who suggest this is an opportunistic or simply a money grab for the catalog of games without even giving us a chance. We have all jumped into this with the intention of standing the company back up and continuing the legacy of telling stories that people want to play. However, most of this was expected, and really all we can do is put our heads down and focus on making great content worthy of the Telltale name. And fair enough, like,
flatter yourself.
Like, it really is just too early to complain. Now, if The Wolf Among Us 2 never comes out, or if it comes out and it's just absolutely garbage, or it's hugely overpriced, then you've got an argument to make that it was a cynical cash grab. But we should give them a chance. I mean, all they did wrong was buy the name Telltale and think that had value, when, particularly to the butthurt journalists, mainstream video game journalists, who were friends of the employees of Telltale, and thus there's some corruption there, there's really no reason to be upset there. The mainstream video game journalists are criticizing and white knighting for former employees of former Telltale for no good reason. Not yet, at least. Not in my opinion. Maybe somebody can explain it to me in a different way where I'd see it differently, but I just don't. Lego and Traveler's Tales games have all 9 films of a new Lego Star Wars game are coming out. One assumes that this isn't just the same levels of over again for the first 6 games, and this isn't just like a collector's edition. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga here, trumping Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, which didn't really cover anything more than the first 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 movies. There's not a lot of footage being shown there, so it all looks nicer, and hopefully this is a modern Lego game that will run on modern PCs without having that Windows 10 bug, or whatever micro stuttering issue it was. But on the other hand, I kind of question if we don't just kind of see the same levels in the first 6 games, with very little changing. And I guess the Clone Wars saga and all of that content, I guess that probably doesn't get integrated. Or, yeah, the whole Clone Wars storyline and cartoon, I don't think is particularly a focus or canon so much. So I imagine you'll see very little content between Episode 2 and Episode 3. Let's just do no attacks. So I'd like to see some actual gameplay. I'd like to see some confirmation that they remade Episode 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6 and polished things up. There's a lot that has been added to, tested on, and then often ignored and removed again from the Lego games. So there certainly is room for changing things up and having a very different experience compared to what the original Lego Star Wars games are. And I imagine they really do still want to sell the complete saga game, even though it has been probably 10 years since that game originally came out. Moving on, we have a game here on Steam called a bunch of Asian characters and then the number 2. It looks like it is a high action, very distracting hack and slash game with probably multiple players. It's tagged massive multiplayer. It definitely looks like a mobile game ported. English is not supported. It's free to play. MMO with in-app purchases. Chinese only. Yeah, I think having a mobile cell phone MMO that is a side-scrolling to flat 2D game is some really bad decisions in gameplay design. Like that does not look like that would play well or work well. All I need is Bolas Citadel now. Like I can just kind of wait until I draw Bolas Citadel and I should win the game. TechRaptor put out a couple more articles of the best games of the decade. So best games of 2016 according to TechRaptor are Pokemon Go, fair enough. Let's see. Enter the Gungeon, Final Fantasy 15, Super Hot, XCOM 2. Let's just go ahead and play this. The Banner Saga 2, Dark Souls 2, the sequel to Limbo, which was called Inside, Overwatch, and then Dishonored 2, The Last of Us, no, Uncharted 4, Titanfall 2, Stardew Valley, Doom 2016, which of course that came out in 2016. So as we're starting to think about games that were just in the past couple of years, those are things that I would have been actually actively dealing with as far as those would have been games I was actually looking at and dealing with as a content creator doing my YouTube thing. So there's something to be said about the those games being recognizable to me, where in previous years half of the games are just like, yeah, I may have heard about them, but I've completely forgotten about them now. Gonna attack with this one and this one. We'll see what happens. Whether he wants to defend or whether he wants to just let it happen. TechRaptor has an article here. You can now play Stardew Valley on your Tesla. Okay. Tesla is still doing a lot of crazy stuff like that. Why they're allowed to put games on car screens is questionable, but I think you can only play them when you're parked. But the whole thing is kind of just like insanity. The screen in a Tesla is frankly just too big in the first place. It's a distraction. Alright, well, then just pass the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called The Paper Man, which says it's a VR psychological horror. It looks like it's not very visually polished and it's suffering from dark screenshot syndrome. Yeah, nothing here interesting. It's free, English full audio. It says it's VR, but apparently you can play it in non-VR mode because I'm not seeing any indication here that it requires VR. Let's see. I should have tapped one of these guys before they declared, and I didn't. And see, now if I was to tap them, it doesn't matter. And they're taking my health. So like if I was to see, all I can do now is say all I can do is like attack here, and that's pretty much it. Let's see, Tech Raptor has an article here catching them all in Disc Creatures, which is Disc Creatures out. It's a Digimon Pokemon clone game that looks like a Game Boy game. See, they liked it. They didn't give it a review per se, but a review score, but it says it doesn't ride the nostalgia wave as a cheap cash-in, but rather a loving homage to games that spawned its subgenre. It's clearly a labor of love, and the fruits of the efforts have created a game well worth your time and money. Disc Creatures is easily recommended for not only Monster Collector fans, but anyone looking for a good example of nostalgia done right. Yeah, it looks like a Game Boy clone that you could play on PC that's not completely in black and white, but still definitely feels like it is just black and white. Alright, we hit that. And what else? Yeah, I don't think Bola Citadel would save me even if I had it. There's about 3 Pokemon clone games of different styles that are coming out, just I think in part in reaction to the National Dexit situation where they got rid of characters in the most recent Pokemon game. I think some of them also are just straight up a reaction to the fact that they shifted Pokemon to the Switch and still have yet to put any Nintendo games on PC, which certainly the aging original fans of Nintendo products, including myself, would appreciate if they pandered to us as an audience and just put out their games on PC also. Like, that really wouldn't cut into the Switch's sales, I think, by much at all, if any, because most kids would still pay a lot less getting a $250 plus Switch than they would buying a $500 to $1,000 PC just to play Nintendo games. Even if there was an exclusivity period, that would still be better. Or not all games making it to PC would suck, but it would be better than no games making it to PC, which is what we have now. Next we have a game on Steam called Wrecker, which is just an Asteroids clone, which doesn't look as good as the other Asteroids clone we saw earlier today. 99 cents, no discount at all, English only. There's nothing here of interest. So let's move on. Still have a ton of news, it seems. We have a game called Bionic Hunter. We had some games left over from Wednesday. That might be part of the problem. This is a VR first-person shooter. It doesn't look like it's very visually polished. It looks like it might just be some asset flips in the backgrounds in the skybox. It's $4.89 discounted for a VR game that's too cheap, and it's English full audio. Yeah, that's something that doesn't need to be on the follow list. I need to just go ahead and concede. Next, we have a game on Steam called Vector Light, which looks like it is a light, simplistic puzzle game of no real interest. It looks like it's a mirror laser game that's just been zoomed out way too much. It's free, so I guess the price is right. 80 levels, English full audio, 25 achievements, third-party EULA for no good reason. Yep. So, another easy to skip game. Just go auto pass on that. And just go no blocks. See, the thing here is you just really just end up in the same place as you were. My deck is just not good enough yet, and I don't know if it takes really much longer to get victories playing ranked than not playing ranked, but it feels like it. And I don't want to fall below my rank, so I'm gonna call that for the last ranked game we played today. And as soon as I wrap up all this news, I'm gonna call it for the stream. We have a game here called Star of Lumitia Reborn, which looks like it's kind of a RPG tower defense type game. Yeah, it doesn't look very well animated in the thumbnail, and it doesn't look like it's really doing much. Looks like a cheap Chinese game. It's $10.19. It's English and Chinese. So I'm still pretty accurate when I call something a cheap Chinese game. Usually it is supporting English and Chinese, and definitely looks like it's originating from China. TechRaptor also has their 15 best games of 2017, so they talk about Doki Doki Literature Club, Splatoon. Yeah, so it's been a while since Splatoon or Splatoon 2 came out. They really should have a Splatoon 3 in the works and announced. Sonic Mania. And that one I've kind of forgotten about. Resident Evil 7 came out in 2017. So it's been a couple of years, and it's still a good enough game that's not really gone down in price. Horizon Zero Dawn was, I believe, a PS4 exclusive, unfortunately, so we didn't really get to play that or get any opportunity. Ori and the Blind Forest, I did cover that game. It's probably the first game in this entire decade that showed up on the list I've actually covered. No, that's not true. I played Doom 2016 also, so there's been a few of them, but I've mostly been covering older than 10-year-old games on my channel, which probably has had an effect on who finds and watches videos on my channel. Cuphead came out in 2017. I am actually rather shocked by that. I would have thought Cuphead came out in 2018. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice came out in 2017. Total War Warhammer came out in 2017. Persona 5 came out in 2017 as a PlayStation exclusive. I suspect Persona may be the only real big game that comes out as a PlayStation exclusive going forward in a lot of instances. Alright, let's do this. And then I'm going to attack with this, and he can decide whether he wants to block or not. And then their best 5 was Divinity Original Sin 2, Nier Automata, Yakuza 0, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. Both games came out in the same year. That was probably the year that the Switch came out. Which I wouldn't really be too concerned about the Switch coming out in late 2017. Like, I seriously doubt we'll see a Switch 2 come out in 2020 or 2021. 2022 I could see at that point them deciding that it's time to potentially move on to the next Switch. But I suspect the Switch in particular is going to have a long tail as far as things go. Gamatsu has an article here. Umehari Kawase Bazooka has 20 minutes of gameplay, which is yet another Umehari Kawase game that's a spin-off. It looks like it's a Smash Brothers type game. And this is when I use Japanese presentations where it's just people talking to the screen for the most part. That's quite a selection of characters for a Smash Brothers clone. Yeah. Yeah, this might be the best, if this comes to PC, which probably will, this might be the best thing you have as far as a Smash Brothers clone on PC. Which is saying a weirdly damning with faint praise. I want to not attack with this guy, and so instead, if I did this, that would leave us with 3, 4. I'm having to do the math in my head. I'm gonna attack here. TechRaptor has an article here. Twitch Prime's December 2019 in-game loot and free games have been revealed. So, in-game loot for Apex Legends, GTA Online, Red Dead Redemption 2, I think is what that game is. Warframe and Borderlands 3. Yeah. So I'll take the Borderlands 3. Free games will be Enter the Gungeon, Witch Eye, Ape Out, Gato, Roboto, Heave Ho, Hue, which is a game I think I really wanted to cover, but I'm still not really gonna do it unless it gives me a Steam code, and they really haven't been giving games through Steam. Here you go. That card looks like it might be somewhat useful. When ski lifts go wrong. It's also free Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove, Hover, and Sherlock Holmes and the Devil's Daughter. So, yeah. Those are all things I should grab. Like, I'm having all these backup accounts. Like, all the free games on the Epic Store, all the free games on Twitch Prime, all the free games here, all the free games there. When really, if it's not on my Steam account, I basically still don't own it, because I won't remember I own it, and I won't ever look in those piles of games to see if I own something and play it. So really, I'm just costing Epic and Amazon Prime and Twitch more money, if they actually are costing them anything to give away these games, which they probably aren't. TechRaptor has an article here. Lord of the Rings Journeys in the Middle-earth developer on adventure mode. Like, so I guess the name of the game is Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. Then the rest of the sentence is comma, developer on adventure mode. So they're making an adventure mode for what is a collectible card game, single player mode for a collectible card game. I'm not sure you can play this game on PC or on Steam. they want you to go to their website here, Fantasy Flight. Let's see, so it's like its own launcher. A Lord of the Rings card game gets beaten down, frankly, by Magic Arena. Like, there's really no reason why you would play a Lord of the Rings game. And that link did not take me to a site where you could download the game. It took me to a site where you could buy a physical printed version of it, which does not make any sense because I'm clearly seeing digital images. So the digital version of this game must not even be out yet. Like, I can't even find this. So that, like, let me just search, just Google search this. Buy it on Amazon. It's showing up as a board game. Let me just add the word download or app. Sorry, this is taking forever. So it is on Steam. It's rated very positively. It's free to play with a $6.99 DLC. I like that it's on Steam, but it really gets beaten by Heroes of Might and Magic Arena. I don't see a reason why anybody would want to play this. This doesn't even really look like it's a card game from the looks of it. It looks like it is something very different. It looks more like a Dungeons and Dragons type game. Yeah, there's not card gameplay being shown here, really. So they're calling it a board game, a strategy RPG adventure. Which is different, so I guess I could put it on the fall list, but honestly I don't think I'd want to play that, particularly as I'm playing Magic. Like, the frustration of potentially doing both of those at the same time would be particularly high. Like, I just don't have enough bandwidth in my head to justify covering 2 fantasy style games. I could easily have a 3rd recording today and really need to get back to doing them. Honestly though, I think I might figure out a way that I can pull this off so that it goes in the opposite direction, and I start only putting videos out on the weekend. Why I would want to do that is because then that would allow me to have a extra time slot that actually got notifications on Monday through Friday, and it would allow me to, without even having to struggle much, move the amount of videos that come out, make less episodes of Magic Arena, and still have plenty, instead of having to break up things. Although, practically speaking, going an hour and 30 minutes, going 2 hours per one stream is not something I think most people would actually sit through and watch. Next we have a game on Steam called Off-Road Racing Buggy X ATV X Moto. This probably is nothing, but there might be something in it. Like Microids as a publisher is a name I recognize. Do I recognize them because they're good or because they're bad? Flash Track. I actually own quite a few of their games. They're the publishers of old games, it looks like. So there's probably an old game getting republished. So I'll put it on the follow list. They want $19.99, that's too expensive, and it's a bunch of languages. This doesn't look terrible, no. And I have yet to play a buggy racing game, and more of an arcade style racing game, which this might be. So there's something there. Next we have a game called In Stations, which looks like it's a space Factorio clone. Doesn't look particularly interesting to me. $10.49 discounted, bunch of languages. Perhaps some accidental or not so accidental swastikas showing up. Yep. Don't really see anything here of interest. Just another Factorio clone that probably won't go anywhere. You know what? We'll be generous. We'll put it on the follow list just in case this is somehow the one breakout hit that happens. And I can see the beginning of the end, so if I can just get through all of these games, we can call it a day. I doubt there will be any major new things that happen. Can we do the other thing? No. So I could attack with this, or I could attack with that, but I probably don't need to attack with either. So I'm just gonna end my turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Icy Roids, which is just a low effort collection of mini games that are Christmas themed. Yeah, nothing here. $1.99, English and Portuguese, Brazil. Yeah. If I got the Bola Citadel in the next draw, I think I probably could win. Good chance, at least. Just need to kind of pass. Let's see. Play this. Although I probably shouldn't have played that first. Play this. This. And let's just auto pass on everything else. Tech Raptor has an article here. My Heroes 1 Justice 2 trailer shows off some new moves, new character systems, and more. The My Hero Academia series, like, I don't watch it. It's a fighting anime series that I think is fine. I think people like it. It certainly makes sense that you would want a fighting game based around it. If anything, I would say the My Hero Academia does a nice middle ground between really crazy characters in one piece and more mundane characters in 5/5. 5 2/2 black zombie cards. Discard my hand. I'll just discard my hand. That is fine by me. But then this is going to eventually lower my life force to to 4, so I'm gonna be in trouble. So what can we do to stop that from happening? Yeah, I'd say the Dragon Ball Z characters do have some wild characters, but they're mostly just humanoids with magical bolt throw energy attacks. They don't. That you don't have one character that is completely different. Well, you do. You have like Boo, but he's not so different compared to My Hero Academia. There we go. My life force is now 4. And then we'll just sacrifice the food and get it back up. And we'll just go ahead and attack with that. And he can block or not block. His choice. Honestly, I should probably have just attacked with everything. Because he can't block everything. Yeah, I could have just attacked with everything and probably won. Ooh, that stinks. I was too busy focusing on Bullet Citadel to realize that my opportunity to win was right then and there. Yeah, I would say even the Naruto characters are probably not in as good of a position. Not as wildly different. As one My Hero Academia seems to be. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Modurium, which looks like it's some top-down, slightly askew angle tower defense game, for lack of a better guess. Looks boring, looks low effort. It's $11.99, and it's English only. Yep, seems to be fine. I'm fine with whatever you want to do. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Reincarnated as a Monster, which seems like it's if I was to guess, a low effort Chinese RPG game with just a bunch of assets merged together. It kind of feels like it's like stealing from the anime Reincarnated as a Slime concept, but doing it very badly. This is $9.99 discounted. It's English only. So maybe this is a Western person stealing it from an anime. It definitely doesn't strike me as that good. So at this point I have 10 victories, which is the maximum amount daily you can get for experience, and clearly maybe over the weekend I'll get enough experience. I should to get to level 100. But that's any more victories today really is just giving me small card rewards, which I still need cards, so I can't really argue against continuing to play. That really makes no sense to play after you get 15 wins in a day, but as long as you still have 5 more wins here to go. Next we have a game on Steam called The Shenanigans of Cherry and Tricks, which looks like it is a low-effort RPG Maker game. Although, I wouldn't say for sure that this actually is made with RPG Maker. It's just a low-effort RPG game. In fact, I really haven't seen a lot of RPG Maker games in the past week or two. This is $9.99 English only, and 0 visual appeal. So, of course, it's not making it to the fall list. Gamma Sutra has an article here that In3T Work or Network has acquired Funko Pop Blitz after NBC Universal winds down its games businesses. So NBC Universal trying to merge with... Who were they merging with? Wasn't Fox. Was it Disney? They were trying to merge with somebody. I think they finally got that merger all the way through, and kind of no surprise now that they're shutting down things. A TV agency, production company, running a video game department was never going to be a smart idea. The only one that really even started to make some sense is if you're going to make the argument that Disney should have maintained their video game form, or they should have maintained the LucasArts video game company, but they shut those down. So yeah, I don't think NBC Universal made any good games, but they did license out the Heroes Reborn spin-off game that was, from what I hear, actually very good, and really didn't connect too much to the Heroes Reborn TV series, which wasn't very good from what I recall. But I couldn't, frankly, name anything else, and I definitely wouldn't have thought that the Funko Pop Blitz, which was a game I didn't know existed, would have been from NBC Universal. Let's just attack with 2. The risk here is they'll block with 2 and kill them, but whatever. Alright. So now I just play that, and we put that back on top of the field. Gamma Sutra has an article. The Rainbow Six Siege core team is shifting to new Ubisoft projects, which I take kind of as a good sign, frankly, because Rainbow Six Siege has been going for quite a long time, and it has never really interested me, and it's been a very multiplayer focused game, so and that's not really something I would want to ever play. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called The Sword, which looks like it is a Game Boy Zelda clone. Says you are the sword, slay 1,000 beasts. It looks like a Game Boy game. It would be hard to justify purchasing this, but maybe if it's really cheap. $1.79 isn't asking too much. English. I wonder, when seeing a game like this, if this is... It's probably just the dungeons of, like, the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening clone type game. It's probably got no open world. And I kind of wonder if maybe some of these games would run as ROMs if you figured out how to do that on a Game Boy emulator, or by putting them on special cartridges, you could actually put them in a regular Game Boy. I wonder about that. I kind of suspect in this case that's not it. But there are some problems here. This is definitely a low effort logo. So there's something to be said there. So if people play this and they review it very well, I'll put it on the wish list, maybe. I'll have to rethink it, but more often than not, I imagine it is just a repetitive number of levels and super short, and just kind of a cheap cash grab on nostalgia. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Facebook acquires the cloud gaming company PlayGig for $78 million. So Facebook trying to acquire more companies, I guess, to have more games on the Oculus. I would seriously doubt that they're trying to do that for Facebook games. And they might be trying to do it for Facebook games, but that would be questionable. Alright, so what do I want to do? What I want to do is, I guess, attack this and this. I probably should have attacked this. While he's deciding, we have a game on Steam called Remember, which looks like it is barely animated at all. It's some kind of weirdo choices matter story game. $1.49, English only. Looks very, very low quality. Not ready to use that yet. Now that I have him down to one character, I could just attack with all three guys. He lost his ability. Well, that stinks. But I could still probably tap this guy, and then it should just attack and do six damage. Defeat him with just might. Gamatsu has an article here. Spike Chunsoft is hiring a UI designer for PS4 and PC adventure games. Applicants must like Danganronpa, so almost certainly it is a new Danganronpa game. Or at the very least it is in the same style and feel of Danganronpa enough. You know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. That way when it starts my turn, all my cards will be untapped, so I can just all attack. Gamatsu has an article here. Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers Makoto Nijima trailer. Another trailer highlighting the characters from Persona 5 Scramble, another Persona 5 game that is still PlayStation exclusive, I think. Let's see, draw a card, jumpstart. There we go. He's trying to draw cards. And then we just tap them again, and let's see. Well, let's just resolve. Let's see if he just kills these other two characters first. See, now there's two of them. That would be a problem. Let's go ahead and tap this guy though, so he can't attack. And then do this, because we know one will get through. And then just end the turn there. And then we'll just tap this guy and we'll just do two more until he decides to do something different. Next we have a game on Steam called Station Flow, which Seems to be a simulation game of developing a underground train station, railroad station, subway station. I guess that would be a subway if it's underground. $15.29 discount. That's too expensive. Supports a bunch of languages. Yep, and it does not look very interesting visually, so that's a easy pass on my part. Okay. So next, attack. See if he defends. If he doesn't defend, then I'm going to just eat him and move on with my strategies. Play Taste of Death. Next we have a game on Steam called Gazillionaire, which looks like it is a economics. Oh, I remember playing this game, come to think of it. This is a really old game that I used to play on PC. It was super frustrating. It is definitely an economics game. Oh yeah, I remember that, so I kind of have to put it on the follow list. I don't know if this is particularly a good game, but it's something I played for quite a while and got very frustrated with. I think it's a particularly difficult game to win at, or if not impossible game to win at. And I certainly would, if I were to purchase it, be just showing it off as a spotlight, not as a as something that I would try to play all the way through and have victories from. But boy, was I not expecting Gazillionaire. That really is a blast from the past. Alright. Draw cards. Can you seriously not get anything on the field? How am I supposed to ruin your hopes if you can't get anything on the field? Let's do this. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Frontline: The Great Patriotic War, which I don't know what war that would be referring to. This looks like a top-down real-time strategy game. Doesn't look particularly interesting. $3.59. This might be a re-release of an older game. That doesn't mean I should cover it inherently, though. It's just if I recognize the game, then it has some relevancy to me. So this I don't recognize. This doesn't look particularly interesting, so I'm going to pass on that one. And we have about 10 more games. Here we go. We play this, we play this, we sacrifice this, we play this next. And I could sacrifice another health thing if I wanted to, but it doesn't matter. Now I'm gonna do something a little risky here and start one more game, but then that should be our last game. Even if we got a quick disconnect, should be our last game. We have a game here called Space Blockbuster, which looks like a VR game where you're standing in one place, shooting at blocks coming towards you. It's early access, requires VR. It's $6.99, which is a little too cheap, and it's English only. Yeah, it's kind of like a Dr. Mario type game. See how this really, or more of an Arkanoid type game. There might be something to this. I'll be generous and put it on the follow list. Next, we have a game on Steam called More, which looks like it's a pixel art dungeon crawler game. It might be in VR, which I think that would be very disorienting to be playing a pixel art VR game. $6.99 English only. Apparently not in VR. Yeah, that would be really weird if you were in VR and you were seeing all this pixel art stuff. Yeah, it's just nothing special here. There's so many dungeon crawlers that came out in the 90s, and I don't know if I really ever had any real interest in them. It was just the games that were available. So I've had probably a lifetime of dungeon crawler games, unless it's going to do something amazingly good quality wise, which odds are it isn't. Next, there's a game here on Steam called The North of Iraq Part 1, which is probably a low effort asset flip game. It doesn't look in terrible as bad as it could, but it really is just a low effort asset flip game. $23.99 for a part 1 of a game is ridiculous, and it's English and Arabic. Perhaps this is an Iraqi company making this game, and that would be cool and interesting to see a country that basically had to reset its entire way of life less than a decade ago, be able to make games. But I'd also like to see them make good games, and I don't think this is a good game. Yeah, and I only need like 3 more victories, which I could easily get off screen if I focus on doing that. Next, we have a game on Steam called Encore Card Games Collection. It doesn't look very visually polished. We are kind of still missing some card games, particularly like a cribbage game. I'm not sure if Tabletop Simulator plays cribbage correctly. And frankly, Tabletop Simulator is a little too 3D for a lot of these card games. But $16.99 is way too expensive. Third-party EULA for no reason. I think Tabletop Simulator, which is $9.99 right now, would definitely do you better. Even though there is a bunch of DLC on Tabletop Simulator, which might raise the price up. But let's see. We already talked about that, so we don't need to talk about it again. We have a game on Steam called Blackout Rugby Manager, which is just a rugby management sim game. It kind of has some nice polish to it, but not that much. I believe some game somewhere, and I don't have any details, removed a soccer player or a rugby player who spoke out against the Chinese government. I believe it was Pro Evolution Soccer, come to think of it. They just removed the character completely in the Chinese version, or in the entirety of it, which, I mean, really just insane, bending the knee to China's censorship, and it seems to keep on happening. I should know that controversy. It should go on the list that I should build as far as controversies, but I wasn't going to play Pro Evolution Soccer or any soccer game anyway, so it has very little relevancy, and I think that's why most people didn't even hear about it. Tech Raptor has an article here. The Haven demo is everything I wanted and more. Haven, I guess, is a game that is coming out. Yeah, I vaguely recall it, and I'm interested to see it when it actually does come out. Yeah, but it's not out yet, so this is a hype article if you've ever seen it. Just promoting a demo, probably because TechRaptor is getting paid to promote it. Gamatsu has an article here. Dragon Marked for Death version 2.3.0 update is now available. This is some kind of 2D game that I don't recognize. So what I wanted to see, I guess more than anything, is this on anything besides the Switch? I guess it isn't, and that explains why I don't recognize it. Let's see what kind of game it is. Yeah, it's a 2D kind of hack and slash game. It's a shame it's not on PC. I think this would be one I would put on the follow list, but it isn't, so moving on. Instead, we have games like this on Steam. Oh geez, oh no, my rabbits are gone, which looks like a low effort platforming game that's probably a mobile game being ported to PC. It looks like it probably is just a puzzle game. Doesn't seem like it even has any action in it. So it looks like it's just a puzzle platforming game, which kind of interests me more than normal. It's $9.95 in English only. That seems like they're asking too much. And then this developer, I'm sure, hasn't done anything else. Yeah, just asking way too much. So I can't justify putting that on the follow list. And that leaves us with 5 games we had left over from Wednesday. Here's a game called Sapper, which is an isometric puzzle game. If this is cheap, it might be a consideration. Well, you're trying to destroy the castle with chain reactions. $19.99 does not classify as cheap. No discount also. So forget Sapper. Next we have a game tagged nudity called Pet Chan that looks like it is just a desktop girl. And yeah, there's all the screenshots are of some state of undress of one terribly animated anime girl. It's 74 cents. It's got a bunch of language support. I'm very surprised these things are allowed on Steam just because they're so low quality. But they seem like they are being allowed on Steam. It's been a couple days and nobody caught it. Next game I can show you, Pizza Time Explosion. Looks like it is a low effort joke game. Seems like it is kind of just a Asteroids clone, for lack of a better description. $5.99 is way too expensive. English only. Yeah, the graphics look particularly pixelated and blurry. We just got 2 more and then we'll be at the Humble Bundle store. Next we have a game on Steam called Dreadlands Beta, which is already mixed, so I can just make a snap judgment there that I have no interest in a beta that's already mixed reviewed. Looks like it's it says turn-based tactics and shooter. It's free to play, single player online PvP. No in-app purchases according to the marker though. Not yet at least. But nobody is happy with it. And it does take a little bit to convince people to dislike your free-to-play game. Next we have a game called Blink Cam, which it simulates basic camera functions. So it's not even really a game. It's just a demo, almost certainly, that is just being sold. Straight up a zero effort asset flip, I suspect, being sold for 1804, labeled Chinese only. Yeah, it probably is a Unity store demo that is just being sold straight up. And yeah, that brings me to the Humble Bundle store, and Do we have any new bundles? Almost certainly the answer to that is no. No new game bundles at the very least. And then the Jingle Jam is still going on and will continue to still go on. Just a collection of games that the Yogscast people played, most of which are not particularly interesting. So what this inherently tells you, I would assume, is that for Yogscast people to even cover a game, they have to get some kind of sponsorship deal that includes that game being on the Humble Bundle store. So they are totally getting funded to cover, I would imagine, all the games. And they've now revealed everything, and none of them look particularly good for $15, even combined. There's a couple that are slightly interesting amongst the group, but most of which are things you've never heard of and never had any interest in playing. It really is just a terrible grab bag, and it's $30, not $15. I was wrong about that. So then that brings me back to my Twitter feed, and a couple more games have come out. Maybe we'll watch this. Apparently there's a Call of Duty Modern Warfare Easter egg that stars Riley, which is, I think, the dog. Check that out if you're interested. I have extra work to do amongst being distracted and not doing YouTube work, because I have to look at the Steam sales, the Steam winter sales. Magic the Gathering Arena is giving away a trip to Hawaii if you follow their rules. Check that out if you're interested. I think you have to send a picture of a Hawaiian shirt, not a short, like short video. I don't know if I really need to cover these extra games that came out. We could probably just leave them for Monday, and that's just fine. The Epic Games Store changed its logo, and they tweeted, let's see, 2 hours ago, the issue has been resolved to Epic Games. What the issue was, I don't know. Larry Herb, aka Major Nelson, is doing Free Games Friday like he always does. Lots of people typing in Happy Holidays and such. Congregate is hiring a business development manager from Gamma Sutra if you're interested in that. And yeah, I think that pretty much is all there is to say, because every other tweet I see is like 4 hours ago, and while we have been going about 4 hours, we've hit that point. So yeah. So let me look at this game that's tagged sexual content. Alright, we have a game on Steam called Fight Angel Special Edition from Red Fox, which is a fighting game, a spectacle fighting game tagged with sexual content. I don't know where that really puts it though. It's $17.99 English, Chinese full audio. It's probably not showing too much if it's a Chinese game, and that seems like that's probably the case. 8 achievements. Let's see. Not suitable for workplace visits. The product includes nudity and general sexual content. All characters are at least 18 years old, so it seems like it is full on nudity. I want to put this on the fall list just to see how a Chinese game would be uncensored. But the problem here is also, ever since something has changed on the Steam launcher, and now I'm getting a lot of pop-ups for every game I follow. And since I follow hundreds, if not 1,000 or two games, there is a lot of pop-ups popping up that I don't want to see. Next we have a game called Love, Money, Rock and Roll. This is a visual novel of some sort. Looks moderately well animated, although maybe a little bit old looking in its animation style. Looks more like a 90s anime than a 2000s anime, but that's fine. And there's some actual animation, live 2D maybe type movement. Actually, that just looks like straight up regular animation. It's coming soon, so I'll put it on the follow list and we'll see how this works. Don't think there's too much more to say there. Next we have a game called New Year's Eve 2020. You don't get a lot of New Year's type games because that's just like one day, half a day. It's not a real holiday like Christmas. It just gets longer and longer. This looks like this is a low effort countdown app for 69 cents. It says it supports a bunch of languages. Okay. Next we have a game on Steam called Bear Hammer, which looks like a VR game where you're swinging around giant bear hammers, if that's what those really are. And images aren't loading, so let's see. It's early access. It's $9.74. Yeah, it seems like you're just throwing hammers left and right. It's English only. It really does feel like it's just a crazy assembly of assets. Like, it makes very little sense whatsoever. But I guess I have to kind of applaud them for not just making yet another game where you're standing one place shooting at zombies. But that's the least amount of praise I can give them. Alright. And with that, we have covered everything. So that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos because that helps me with YouTube. Tells them that my video is worth watching. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me, particularly right now while the Steam winter sale is going on, friend me on Steam, gift me a gift card, or gift me a game off my wish list, or just gift me a game that you would like to see me cover. That helps me quite a bit. Or you can support through Patreon. That would be very nice too. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.